Hello everyone, welcome to EVE Talk, your weekly look at the markets in EVE Online. I am your host, delonewolf, and this is the final EVE Talk before the Chronos release. So if I look in general, with the change that the industry changes are not going to come in Chronos, I feel like Chronos is actually a low sec centered release. First of all of the all of the Mordus BPCs are going to come into lowsec. There's also going to be the increased wormhole activity in lowsec, where you get more low to low and low to nullsec wormholes in there, just to, I guess they try and avoid having all those choke points in some lowsec systems so that you can actually travel in different ways. You'll also get increased anomalies for mining sites in lowsec, and then add to that the covered ops capable mining ship. Yeah, it does feel like we might see an increase in activity after the Chronos release, and that might just be one of the aims as well for Chronos now that the industry changes are not coming there. So I think it's going to be very interesting. Our corporation is definitely planning a few trips and activities in lowsec, so yeah, let's see if they can actually make lowsec valuable enough, special enough, so that people will risk going there, maybe risk establishing themselves there as something else than pilots. Could be interesting, I think. We are here for the market, of course, and let's start as always with plex. I'll write down 130 for that. Whoa, 730 for the buyers, 746 for the sellers, so that's an increase in price, not as steep as what it was last week where we had this this big jump here, but it's definitely an increase. This means that plex has been going up for an entire year straight now. That's actually a little bit of a worry. Over here at 745 though, it does seem to be plateauing out, and I think CCP is going to have to hold on a little bit before intervening here. The reason for this is this increase in price here could be due to the Chronos release. I mean, it's looking pretty damn good. You've got those new Mordus ships that look pretty awesome. You've got the whole rebalance of the pirate faction ships that's going to give some very interesting PvP options there, I think. So it's actually looking like a very solid and fun release. So I do think people might be expecting a lot of new people coming in and a lot of speculation on the plex prices going up, just like what it would during a normal winter release. So I think from that standpoint, this increase in price might just be Chronos related, and CCP might just wait a little bit, see what happens after the Chronos launch, because keep in mind it is summertime, and summertime is generally a time where there is less activity in EVE Online. So if Chronos can break that cycle, it's not looking too good for a pullback on plexes. But I must say that generally during the summer activity does decrease. That means that maybe there's like a little bit less demand for plexes. If people still want their plex for ISK, they'll put them on the market and we might see a pullback. But that's of course not certain at all with a release like Chronos, and then 6 weeks later an industry-based release. I think that plexes are going to be a very important gauge to see how activity in EVE Online progresses. Now, if CCP can manage to maintain the hype throughout the summer, well, that's going to be problematic maybe for plex prices. I mean, we could see something like 800 if people start coming back for winter releases that look pretty awesome as well. So yeah, it's hard to say what it's going to do. I do think this jump up and this increase in price here is just due to the Chronos release, and we'll have to see if summertime is going to have an impact on activity and on subbing after that. It's going to be interesting. I do think that this industry release though is going to put another wrench in the cycle. That's going to be a little bit of a problem here again, and we do really need a pullback, I feel, in plexes. This is not entirely healthy either. 750 million for a plex, that's a lot of work. It is true that the player base is getting better and better at getting more value out of every hour that they play. You know, we've definitely increased our bottom line by going for exploration, for instance. But honestly, I think both the player base and CCP would actually like to see plexes a little bit lower. then this make it a little bit more affordable for the newer players as well. So we'll see. The industry changes does promise to be a serious ISK sink, which could just have that impact here as well. So it's a very complex market, and it's very hard to tell what it's going to do, but plexes have been rising for like a full year now, going here from a bottom of 540 to 740. That's 200 million, pretty much straight up. That's a little disconcerting to me as well. Let's move on to the minerals. Let's see what those have been doing. Let's have a look here at titanium. Move on to the 1 month chart just to see what it's been doing in the last few weeks, and I'll write down 530 for those. Yep, still on the uptrend here. Current price is closing in on 610. I mean, it's a little more sideways here, but the 20-day moving average is still moving up. So supply demand could be interesting here. Still demand of 1.1 billion, which is well, quite a lot. Pretty much the first half of the supplier side of things. Here we have 570 million units coming in, but at a price of 619. So it does look like it's actually still going up. We're also seeing first buy orders above 6 ISK. I think that's an important threshold to reach. So yeah, titanium might just still be going up. I'm still seeing the supply coming in, but the demand is there as well. You see 1.1 billion, and it's a pretty fresh order here, and again almost a billion. It's an older order though, I think. Over here at least one day and 18 hours old or something like that, I feel. Here you still have 2 billion of them, so yeah, demand, it's definitely there. People are willing to pay 6 ISK for titanium. It's looking pretty good for this uptrend to actually still continue for a little bit. Let's have a look at pyrite. That one is pulling back towards 12 ISK. Is that, yeah, look at that, 200 million. Well, actually, look at that. It pulled back to 12 ISK. Right away, demand at 12.03 is coming in with 400 million units. Here again, 760 million units. I think this is going to be short-lived. This could go back up a little bit, bounce off of that 12 ISK price point, because demand at this price is definitely there, and so some competition might be coming in. We do still have pretty big sell orders here, 700 million at 12.18, 120 million at 12.15. So it's going to be sideways. It's not like it's going to reach 13 ISK or anything like that anytime soon with supply like this. But I'm seeing more demand than supply, definitely above 12 ISK. So it's probably going to bounce off of this and go back up a little bit. Interesting stuff here in pyrite. Next up we've got Mexalon. Similar trend to pyrite. Look at that, a little bit of a pullback towards 49.40, but over here it does look like it's not going to break that. Let's see if demand did indeed pick up. Yep, look at that, 49.01, 49.02. Competition is already back, and not with small orders. 247 million units, 122 million units over here. Supply, it's there, it is definitely there. 40 million here again, but it's lower than the demand at the moment, and at 49.5 pretty much. Mexalon is set to bounce back up over here a little bit, maybe heading back towards 50. I would not be surprised if that could happen. Isogen, another high-sec one, again a little bit of a pullback here, just like the other ones. Titanium is really the one that's doing the best, a little bit surprising to me. I would expect Mexalon to do a little bit better. Look at that, 10 million of them coming in. That's not bad, of course. Here we have 38 million as a big order, but that's not a recent one. So this is pretty interesting. It's a wait and see. I would say for Isogen it could still go either way, continue to go down a little bit. Maybe it's closer to 132 before demand comes back with a vengeance and pushes the price back up. But here in Isogen, if you look at the recent movements especially, I'm not really seeing this super demand that is very recent, that they want to grab as much Isogen as they can. This price could really go either way. So yeah, titanium is really the winner here in the last few weeks and in the last month. That has been going up much more stably than the other ones. Pretty interesting. Let's move on to the nullsec, or the more expensive minerals. Noxium is sometimes available in high-sec as well, but it's a little bit harder here. Also a pullback, pretty severe actually, towards 738 from 754. That's not a small pullback in a little bit of time. Supply demand feels much more stable here, 2.7 million, 1.3, 4.2 over here. So I'm not really seeing this this demand that is way higher than supply here. So Noxium, it's possible that it has found like a new price point where people are happy to actively trade Noxium at 738, maybe 754 was just a little bit high for the market, and so it's going to probably stabilize over here. If I look at supply demand, you know, this looks like nothing too big, too major just yet, but prices have already started to move a little bit more sideways here around this price point. This is a pretty interesting 1 month chart, you know, going up from 738 to 754 and then pulling right back to 738. So over the entire month pretty much nothing has happened, but a lot of money has been made and lost here in Noxium over the last few weeks. So it is pretty volatile. Moving on to Megasite, typical nullsec one, which has been going down for the entire month from 1610 to 1540. That's a pretty significant downward trend. Supply demand analysis is not as valuable as for something like Tritanium, where both sides of the equation see a lot of action. Over here it's mostly the sellers that will dictate the price. Still, maybe something that could indicate a downward trend is the fact that that the margin is very close. The sell prices can go a lot higher than the demand side. If prices are going up, you know, people are willing to pay up more ISK. If prices come closer towards one another, 1515 to 1550 is really a very small margin for Megasite. That does seem to indicate that we're in a downward trend for Megasite at the moment, which I'm not really sure why. You know, Megasite, it's needed in lots. Maybe people are expecting that the industry changes are going to not have a big impact on the Megasite supply, on the nullsec stuff supply, because that could actually increase with better refining yields, whereas the high-sec stuff is going to take a hit from the reprocessing changes and possibly from the changes to how minerals are being created. You know, that yield could really go down in high-sec a little bit. It could be speculation on that. Let's have a look at what Zydran is doing. Also definitely a downtrend, although it seems to have stabilized at 690. Here again, supply demand is not really a good gauge for what's happening, but you can see 685, 695 for buyers and sellers. Very small margins, so definitely an indication of a downtrend again. And finally, I think all that's left is Morphite, which is a little bit of an outlier for minerals. It is a Tech 2 related material, which is a lot more stable. I mean, it did go from 7000 ISK towards 6800, so it is down for the month, but I do think if we look at a 6-month chart, well, actually no, it's been a downtrend from 7200 to 6800. A little bit surprising, but I do think this could be related to the fact that nullsec reprocessing 6 weeks after Chronos is going to probably get a bump up in efficiency, and so people are expecting supply to actually be able to increase. Overall, I think this is pretty interesting and a good time for both manufacturers and miners in high-sec. You're getting more stuff for whatever you mine in high-sec, and you can actually buy those materials that you need extra for cheap stuff. So this could be good for industrialists on their margins, I think, at the moment, at least if they combine that with a little bit of mining, which is what me personally I do from time to time. So yeah, interesting stuff here in the minerals. Let's have a look at the impact on Tech 1 chips, and that's 14 minutes. I suspect this is going to be pretty much sideways. The nullsec decrease in price will probably have a countering effect to the increase in high-sec stuff. People are probably producing a lot, but waiting for the release after Chronos before really going to town on the market, maybe dumping a lot of stuff. And here, for instance, we can see the Drake over a 1 month period from 48 to 47 million with a little bit of variation. That's actually pretty stable. The Maelstrom is taking off. But supply is coming in. Look at that, 13 and 13 of them over here. So I think last week it was pretty much bought out. You couldn't get any any sell orders, or at least not in any big numbers. And this is probably going to start slowing down right here, and maybe move back to a medium of like 194, 192, which is where maelstroms are more of the time. And look, you see 195 for the buyer, so it's probably going to start coming back down if big supply like this is starting to move in. This is a normal thing that tends to happen. I believe it is when like a nullsec alliance comes in, buys a lot of maelstroms to make a couple of fleets available for their members. You know, prices do shoot up, but then supply comes in and it corrects back. For some of these nullsec doctrines, this does happen. Look at the Omen, for instance, a smaller ship, easier to produce, much more stable. In fact, still 10.7 to 10.7 on the entire month. The Rock, yeah, that's up a little bit, but you can see here we have this big spike here towards 216. Something like a rock fleet might have just been bought, and then supply is probably coming in. Look at that, 10 rocks, 3, 2 again. It is coming in here again with 10 rocks. So this is probably the reason why we're already pulling back towards 208 million, and it's probably going to cross the 20-day moving average, move its way back down towards like a 205, something like that, which I think is a more normal price for the Rock. So this does tend to happen on some of these ships, but the Talos here again, look at that, pretty much a sideways movement for the entire month, right around 74 million ISK. So for those smaller ship, battle cruisers, stuff like that, production is a lot easier to react to any spike than it is with battleships. You know, those are bigger, a little bit hard to get to the market, and over there we are seeing a much more stable market, which is in line with what we saw with the minerals. So yeah, Tech 1 production, I think people are probably producing more than what they need, but they are keeping the supply pretty much level, except when they see a price spike they can react to this pretty quickly, bring the price back down, and then we see charts like this pretty much stable for the entire month. Let's move on to Tech 2 ships, 1710. This is probably going to be a bit more volatile. Look at this, the Absolution growing from 198 to 214 in 1 month, in fact in just a few weeks time. It is plateauing here, of course, after such a big increase in price, but we are looking at trade opportunities in something like the command ships and the Tech 2 ships. So yeah, look at that, pretty nice spiky behavior after a serious long decline. This is a 6-month chart, so we are talking 3 months at least where it pretty much went constantly down. Then it reached at 185 points, and then the market just went a little bit crazy here with very high and prices and a lot of volatility, which is of course what we like to see as traders at the moment. I'd still be trying to sell them because they are at a pretty high price. Start date then again at a pretty high price after a few nice bounces here. This bottom of 195 has really been a trigger again for spiky behavior after a serious downward trend for, well, again, close to 6 months. The Claymore then, again we do see this downtrend here, and after that it's not as spiky as what I would like to see. Still, if I look at this, 205 on the price point here, sellers 2010, so it might just be trying to work on a little spike. Unfortunately, this big order of 53 is going to prevent that from happening anytime soon. That is a part of the equation you do need to look at as well. Are there people that have already jumped on a price with really big numbers? Then the Claymore, you know, could just be a little bit too stable for some trade money. Damnation knew a very nice spike from 220 to 280 here, and it's actually holding this price, so I'd still be trying to sell Damnations. They are probably going to go back down. If you see them again close to 220, you might be more in a buy opportunity for those. EOS again, whoa, that's actually a pretty significant spike back up to 335 from 275 after going down for pretty much 6 months straight. Yeah, if you had invested in some EOSs like below 280, you would have done some pretty good business, because buyers now are looking close to 340 for an EOS. Yeah, I think this is again a pretty nice show of the trade potential in these ships. It takes a little bit of guts, you know. You do need to be able to see this trend and decide. For instance, here in the Guardian, very low. You can pick up some really cheap Guardians, historically speaking. It's always a little bit of risk, you know. You're always probably telling yourself, yeah, but might they not have completely changed the doctrine? Might those ships not have been nerfed into the ground so that it won't come back? But as you can see over here in the Guardian, we've seen prices high as 170. You can pick them up at close to 130 at the moment. That's 40-45 million margin there. And the opportunity, it might not come tomorrow, but this is probably a buying opportunity. Just like what we saw in the EOS, it has passed unfortunately, but they are there. You just need to have a good close eye on the market. Nighthawk worked on a nice little spike here of 10 billion, but it's coming back down. I'd wait a little bit. Maybe we are seeing a big sell order here. Yeah, look at that, 34 of them at 250. This is of course going to mean a ceiling until this is gone. Nighthawk is a little bit maybe some buy orders could be in order, but you won't get super high prices yet. Sleipnir is working again on a serious downtrend for pretty much since April, so a few months already, coming into an interesting buy opportunity region. If you ask my opinion, close to 220 is where we might see again some volatility coming in this market. And then the Sleipnir working on a nice uptrend. Unfortunately, it's not as spiky as I would like to see. This has been going on for 2 months, maybe even a little bit more already. So that's just a little bit too stable to really be trade worthy, except the last spike here was not bad, but after this increase in price, personally I would not have jumped on vultures to go up like that anytime soon. So it's definitely a trade that I would have missed or have missed, but it still shows there is some opportunity even after an increase in price. It's a trade market, this Tech 2 ship market, in my opinion. Let's move on to Tech 3, pretty much at 21.55 for that, where we've seen oversupply going on for a long time. And here the Legion, it tried its spike to 140, it's already back down to 125, 56 of them coming back in at 128,500. This oversupply is here. Any increase in price is going to be short-lived. Again here with the Loki already trending back down to 125 as well. 125 Lokis coming in at 127 million. Yep, anytime they jump up, they come back down very quickly. Proteus has been below 135 for quite a while. Oversupply, it's less and less. Look at that, 19, 11, 16, 10. You might see if this dries up a little bit a short-lived spike, but Proteus numbers are going to come in right away. So all of these are pretty short-lived here. Look at that, 61, 37, 40, 44, 15. Look at the demand side, nothing along those lines. But so here again, Tengu tried towards 140. People see 140. Oh my god, that's such a huge opportunity. Let's put everything on the market, and it crashes right back down towards 125. This behavior we've seen a few times already in the last 6 months, and there is really no indication that this is going to change anytime soon. Yeah, the Tech 3 market not looking too hot. Melted nano ribbons also, there seems to be plenty of supply. It's holding well below 4 million at the moment, with some variation. But I invested at 4.5, I think. Pretty bad investment. I'm going to hold on to it. Maybe at some point we will get an opportunity for some reason. But yeah, the Tech 3 market is really in an oversupply situation, and it has been like that for quite a while. Now for today's extra material, let's say 24 minutes, I'm going to look at the post fuels. My expectations in post fuels would be, let's have a look here, do I have them here? Yep, would be that we see a little bit of a spike. I would have expected a pullback. This spike here is normal. It was the announcement that that fuel prices for jumping is going to pretty much double, and this had its impact on the fuel blocks. I would have expected a pullback after they announced the delay for these changes, but it doesn't look like that has materialized. So fuels have been around 14k for quite a while, but now they are sitting at 18k 1000 ISK for Amar fuel blocks. Oh, look at that. Caldari though knew the spike and has corrected back after that. That's pretty interesting. Tried to reach 19k. It's back at 18k though. So it's in line with what we were paying for Amar fuel, but you do see the speculation spike after the announcement to the increase in jump fuel costs, which has an impact on one of the materials needed to make all of these fuel blocks. Galente fuel blocks, here again you are seeing the spike up to 16.5k. After that a little bit stable. I would have expected a bit more of a pullback due to the delay. But I guess people are just factoring in that it's going to happen anyways, so they're keeping the price high anyways. And then the Minmatar fuel blocks, oh, that's pretty spiky, going from 14k towards 15.5k though, so not as big an increase. Caldari, one of the most popular races in the game. I do think it's normal that this one knew the spike, knew the correction as well, and is holding at 18k. Amar, I guess they have like a unique thing that they have to their outputs and stuff like that, so it might be why we're seeing Amar at 18k. Honestly, it's pretty good to be Galente and Minmatar at the moment. You're paying a lot less for your fuel than the other races. Look at that, Minmatar 16k, Galente 16.5k. It's definitely less than the other two. It's a decent margin in between them. This could end up having an impact on bosses as well. You know, if people do see that, well, Galente, it might just be worth picking up a Galente boss because of the lower fuel price. Might make up for the disadvantage that the boss might have. And so yeah, this could just turn into a trend. Within 6 weeks after the Kronos release, people will be able to put up bosses in Highsec anywhere they want, and so you might see people moving towards Galente and Minmatar bosses because of these cheaper fuel prices. It's a possibility. Still on the 6-month trend, definitely up, and they probably won't go down anytime soon because of the announced changes to the jump fuel costs. Anyways, that's it for this EVE Talk, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all next time.